So you're in the process of buying your first home and you're wondering, who are all of these people involved in a real estate closing? I'm Tiffany Weber. I'm a real estate attorney in Morrisville, North Carolina, and let's dive in. All right, let's start behind the scenes. Who's involved? Behind door number one, we have the appraiser. So what is the appraiser doing in your real estate transaction? Most likely you have a lender. The lender is going to lend you money for the home, and they have to make sure that the property is worth what you're agreeing to pay for it, at least. If it's worth more, great, but it needs to be worth at least what you have agreed to pay for it so that they can make sure that they're lending the appropriate amount of money. The appraiser is the person who is charged with making that happen. So they go out to the property, they take a look inside and outside of the property, they take pictures, they note the condition. So that is what the appraiser does. And the appraiser delivers the appraisal to the lender and to the buyer. All right, so who else? I peeped, I saw what this one said through the back. Underwriter. So the underwriter is someone who works for the lender, and they are, for lack of a better term, I call them like the detectives of this process, because they're going to be looking at all of the documentation that's been submitted by you or on your behalf to make sure that you can qualify for the loan. So you submit your W-2s, you submit bank statements, you submit your tax transcripts, you submit all kinds of information, and the underwriter is going to start digging in and saying, okay, the borrower reported that they make $4,000 a month, but I see here on the W-2 that they make $3,200 a month. We got a question mark here. We got to figure out what is up. So they're going to be checking all of the details to make sure that what you've said you make and where you say you're employed is all true, that you can actually qualify for the loan. All right, next we have surveyor. If you've seen any of my other videos, then you know most attorneys in North Carolina are always going to recommend that you get a survey. The exception would be like if you have a condominium unit, if you don't have a property on the ground. But if you're buying a traditional single-family residence, your attorney is going to recommend that you get a survey so that the legal description of the property can be most accurate. The legal description is what actually conveys the property or determines what you're receiving by deed. Most people think it's the address or the lot number or something else, but it's actually the legal description, which can be broken down two ways. One, it could be by reference to a plat, a plat book and page that's recorded in the Register of Deeds, or it could be meets and bounds. Not like meats, smoked meats, meets, M-E-T-E-S, meets and bounds. And that's a way to describe the coordinates of the property, the directionals as well. And once you map out that meets and bounds legal description, you will see your property kind of drawn out. Essentially, anything that's on the ground that you need to be aware of, the surveyor is going to note that on the survey report. All right, next, inspectors. There's lots of inspectors involved, typically, but the most common one that first-time homebuyers think of is the home inspector that's going to go out and check to make sure that the things in the home are operating properly. Are there any cracks in the foundation? Does the roof leak? Were the appliances operational? So the inspector's not going to tell you like, oh, you've got the best refrigerator on the market, you're set. They're just going to say, hey, the refrigerator was running and it was cooling like it was supposed to be, or the dishwasher, we ran a cycle, it didn't leak. But the home inspector does all of those things. They take quite a bit of time going through the property, and then they share a report with you, the home buyer, saying, hey, this was an issue. To make it right, this is how you fix it. And then you as the buyer can decide whether you're going to try to negotiate for those repairs during your due diligence process. Next, title insurance. So title insurance, I didn't mention this already, but these people aren't actually sitting at your table usually. So title insurance is no exception. They play a very important part of the process, but there's not a rep from the title company sitting at the closing table. And the title insurance company is the company that comes in and insures your lender's interest in the property and yours. I've done several videos on title insurance and why it's important and what it actually covers, but a brief synopsis is that title insurance, it will cover you against defects in title that couldn't be discovered by a diligent title search. So a title search may reveal a chain of title, but what it won't reveal is if someone fraudulently signed a deed 30 years ago. There's no way to see that with the naked eye for a diligent title searcher. So if it's revealed much later in time that there's a fraudulent deed in the chain of title, the title insurance company steps in to defend the owner if the owner got an owner's title insurance policy, and the lender against those claims so that their interest isn't harmed. Another insurer, homeowners insurance. So this is protecting the physical home. So title insurance protects your legal ownership to the home, and then homeowners insurance protects the physical home. This is something that if you don't have a loan is not required, but we strongly recommend it. You hear the sad stories all the time of, someone may pay off their house and think, gosh, I don't have to pay for homeowners insurance anymore since it's not a legal requirement. I'm going to cancel that homeowners insurance, and then something devastating happens to the property and they're not able to rebuild because they didn't have the insurance. So this would, in the event of a fire or some other disaster, the homeowners insurance would help you rebuild or would compensate you for your loss. All right, and lastly, of the folks that are not at the table, Register of Deeds. So this is often forgotten about, but after you sign everything, there are still some steps to be completed, and one of those is recording the deed at the Register of Deeds. So that's a very important person in this process. If the Register of Deeds is very backed up, then you should expect that your deed is not going to be recorded right away. So you're going to hope that your Register of Deeds is fully staffed up for a busy day and they're able to stay on top of all of the recordings. The Register of Deeds is very diligent in making sure that the documents presented to them for recording have all of the formalities needed. So if there's an issue with the deed, say the notary forgot to put their stamp on. If you walk up to get something recorded that's supposed to be notarized and the notary did everything else but didn't stamp it, the Register of Deeds is going to send you right back to go to the notary and get that redone. So the Register of Deeds is not just clicking a button saying, yes, accept, yes, accept. They're inspecting the document to make sure it conforms to all of the recording requirements. All right, so these are all of the parties involved in your closing that are not at the closing table. There are a lot more to come. So we're going to have another video about all of the parties that are sitting at the closing table with you in a real estate closing in North Carolina. Stay tuned.